Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Sherry Kim, and welcome back to another episode of the Piano Star Masterclass brought to you by Piano League. During the live stream, you can ask us any questions in the chat, and we will do our best to answer them. You can also sign up to be a performer for these masterclasses and get a chance to perform for our live audience. Additionally, be sure to also check out our newest virtual competition, the Piano Star International Competition for students ages 18 and under. The deadline is actually this Sunday, October 25th. So today's guest teacher, Sondra Tammam, is on the faculty of the Manhattan School of Music Pre-College and the Kelly School of Music at Montclair State University. She was also the former faculty teaching associate for the late Constant Keene at the Manhattan School of Music. She is also the co-director of the annual Dorothy Taubman Festival at Montclair State University since 2011. And today she will be discussing the Taubman approach and how to use it to progress through repertoire. It's an honor to have you on the show, Sondra.
Here, it's such a privilege to be part of your organization.
Yay!
And I feel like the vision that you established with Piano League gives pianists an online community. And I feel that education on the internet suddenly is making the world of pianists come together.
It really is, for sure. Yes. And we just want to be able to, share our different stories, our different passions. And we especially love seeing what teachers are passionate about. Good point. I feel like even for professional pianists, we don't normally think about these microscopic details about how our body moves. But I think it's for no matter where you're at in your piano journey, I think it's such an important reminder or maybe introduction.
Right. And the amazing thing is that when everything's working right, it's invisible.
Yeah.
Just like the Maté book,
right.
The visible and the invisible. It's just, you watch a great artist, you can name any of them. If you want to say Argerich, Trifonov, Pollini, Barenboim, Axe. I mean, it just looks like they're not working very hard.
Right.
And what comes out is amazing. Yeah. So that's why one other thing I want to stress before I get to the details. Taubman said, if things are working, don't take them apart.
That's a good point.
Yeah, don't undo things. You might have a little student and it just seems like the only thing you see is that the fingers are really clenched. I'm going to get to that as one of my first things.
Got it.
But everything else they do is so musical, like they shape, they feel the music, the rhythm is good, the balance is good. So maybe you just want to touch a little bit on that point, but leave everything else alone. And that's why she said, the prodigies are the ones that you notice, like when they're so young.
Right.
It's incredible. And so there's something that's intuitive by nature, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
So the next thing that I'd like to talk about is the synchronization of the unit. Okay?
Okay.
The unit is actually the referral that Taubman said of what you need to use to play. So you've got your fingers, and that's number one. That's the first commandment.
Okay.
You've got to have your fingers. They're so active. And then you've got your hand, which is kind of like a tunnel to get to the fingers, and you've got the forearm. Yes, you use the upper arm, but its muscles are slower, and it's just assisting. Okay?
Got it.
So it's like this is the lever.
Okay.
Okay. And actually, she would say that in front of your body, you can turn it as though you were, let's say, without grabbing a doorknob. It's the same reflex that you use all the time, but don't grab with the fingers.
Okay.
Just feel like your arm has your fingers by the side, just the way you take a walk.
So it shouldn't look like this.
No claw.
Just okay.
Yeah. Okay. So then, as I walk, by human nature, we supinate, which means that we tilt toward the pinky. So very often when kids take this unit, so I'm in front of my body, and it's almost like you could say I'm at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. I like using the clock. I think that kids are always like into like what it looks like. And then I take that 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock, and I just kind of go until I'm going to get to noon. And then I could just put myself over 5 keys, 5 fingers, 5 keys.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so this is my unit. So it's almost like for kids, there are numerous things you could say. It's like my fishing rod, something like that. But the main thing that we want to do before we get to the Clementi is that you want to understand that the unit is very free, but the unit, as we work, you're going to see, needs some motivation to get across the keys and in and out, shaping the curvilinear motions, and interdependence of the hands, and the octave has a different posture. We'll see that in Rachmaninoff. And so the next thing we have to know, and Taubman was very clear to say that there are very few muscles that we need to know. The free flexors, those are our friends. The flexor muscles is letter F. It's like free, fall, fingers. And you can just feel from the main knuckle, it's almost like a bird, and I don't have to take it past 1 and 2.
Okay.
See? Yeah, it's almost like a chirping bird.
Yeah.
Okay, so the fingers fall freely, and they really have to fall together. So when I'm going to fall together, for example, when I'm going to play in a passage, for example, if I'm on the second finger and I want to go to 3, 4 and 5 have to also be sympathetic and say, I want to do that too.
Got it. So like a team.
Exactly.
Okay.
Got it. So it's the flexor free fall. Fingers can fall and kind of copy the player.
Okay.
But the problem is we have an opposing muscle that's called an extensor. It's kind of like E for exit, like get out of here. And the extensor muscles lift us.
Okay.
And we could fight nature, but it's not going to help. The sad story of Robert Schumann's piano career is all because we can't fight nature.
Gost Muzičke akademije na Cetinju je slavna pijanistkinja iz Njujorka Sondra Tammam. Dobrodošli u Crnu Goru.
Hvala vam puno. Veliko je zadovoljstvo biti ovdje. Srećna sam što imam priliku da budem sa studentima na akademiji. Veoma su talentovani i nestrpljivi da saznaju više o Taubmanovom pristupu.
Ukoliko sam u pravu, podučavat ćete ih novim tehnikama sviranja klavira.
For many years, pianists have been playing in a traditional way, copying whatever their teachers had told them, and then it went from generation to generation. And we found that we needed answers, just like in the field of medicine, as far as our technique, and to have a beautiful interpretation and have freedom at the keyboard without limitations. It should be that everybody who studies turns out to be a concert pianist if they want, and not to feel as though there's something that's holding them back. Many times nowadays, because of the critical, difficult passages in many of the technical repertoire, it turns out that many students find that they don't have answers and they don't have solutions for a problem. And just practicing in a piano room, especially if they're not doing coordinate movement, can actually bring on injury or fatigue or just mental depression. So my mentor, Dorothy Taubman,
Možete li nam pojasniti osnove tih tehnika?
So the basics of the techniques are based on physiology. And we know that there's certain things that the hands like to do. First of all, the power of the hand is not coming only from the fingers. The fingers have to be very agile and they have to work together. The finger muscles are found in the forearm. Of course, the forearm is going to work with the upper arm, but the forearm is where we're getting the power for playing the piano. You see any pianist playing and you're going to see that they're going to be using the forearm. Many times what's going to happen is the fingers don't understand the coordinate motion. We like to believe that the fingers can do anything. Fingers like to flex down from the main knuckle. But if you try just flexing fingers without using any other energy and going down like this, it has a limit. Going across the keyboard also for the horizontal also has a limit. But the concept that was started many years ago by Tobias Mattei, and he didn't live long enough to see it through, was that rotation is the fastest motion. So the rotation, starting from the forearm to the fingertip, gives every finger the capacity to lift and drop at the same exact speed and the same height. Students many times don't understand that when we try to lift fingers by themselves, they'll all go at a different height. For example, I'm putting myself on the 5 keys, I'm depressing them, I'm trying to lift the second finger. That's not bad. Wow, I'm very happy. I'm trying to lift the third finger. It's pretty good. Okay. But then I'm trying to lift the 4th finger, which the famous composer Robert Schumann tried to do, and I'm very depressed. It just won't do it for me. And then I say, well, 5 is great, so what happened? So we're born with ligamentous tissue on the top side of the palm here, and therefore there's no way that anybody will be born with a superior lift on the 4th finger. We learned that back in 1830s, 1840s from Schumann, but we didn't pay attention. Ours is a lot of hearsay tradition, like I said. So therefore, if we use a rotation, you'll notice that my fingers can flex easily. I get the power of my palm and my forearm initiating back in the elbow area, and watch what can happen. If I do a rotation with a preparatory swing for playing 5 fingers in the downhill direction, I simply have this swinging back to play down, preparatory swing, and then look at the leverage I got for my 4th finger.